Alright, so I wanted to give a few tips today about flying, which I have had a lot of hours on, and hopefully some of these tips are beneficial to other people who enjoy flying or just want to be a better pilot in Planetside. My weapon of choice, so to speak, is the Liberator. The first tip I'm going to give is that if you are flying the Liberator, pretty much anything you want to fly, unless you're actively shooting at something, it's usually probably a good idea to go ahead and change out and look at it in third-person view. I personally rebind my third-person view to be something that's a bit more convenient than T. And I also rebind my eject button so that it is less easily accessible than E, because E is very easy to hit when you're reloading or when you're doing a variety of things. So I rebind it to something else so that when I hop out of the plane, it is because I definitely wanted to hop out of the plane. Okay, so, well, and just looking at it from a third-person view, as long as I don't mess anything up, you know, it's a lot easier to tell when your wings are going to clip stuff, how close you are to things, and that sort of stuff than when you're just in this view and it's kind of hard to tell the same amount of information as when you're in third-person view. So, the first things I'm going to highly recommend people do is rebind a number of things. The first being pitch up, pitch down, right here. So as you'll see, I have these bound to a couple of mouse buttons. They're also bound to up and down on your keyboard. And they're also on your, just moving your mouse. So if I move my mouse this way, I go up. If I move my mouse this way, I go down. As you can see, it kind of is, move up in here a little bit. As you can see, it's kind of not the smoothest thing. It's hard to go completely in a straight line up or down when you're doing that, and it's also kind of slow. However, if I use the buttons up and down, or what I've bound to my mouse wheels, I move straight, consistent, and a lot faster in those two directions than I would otherwise. So in general, when I'm flying, one of the ways I turn around is I just, tilt one of my sides this way and do sort of the roll down function, and that allows me to turn around pretty quick. And even in my lib, it also allows my gunners a shot at whichever I want them to fire at while I'm turning around, get into better positions and do whatever. So very, very helpful, especially when you're dogfighting in a lib or just general flight maneuvers, to do the roll up, roll down maneuver without having to drag your mice all over the place. In the same way, the roll left and roll right are also things you want to have bound. They are bound to left and right, and I have a couple other things that are bound so that I can easily do the roll left, roll right, without having to move my mouse while trying to keep it straight. Make sure I'm not going in any other direction besides roll left and roll right. So again, super helpful for just nice, smooth rolling left and rolling right before maybe you're going to do a roll down to turn around or something else. The last thing, in terms of binds, you probably want to look at binding, is throttle analog. It's kind of a weird thing. I think inherently it's bound to nothing. However, what that does is if I'm going at full speed, I'll just get turned around here. I'm going at full speed towards something. Full speed's about 180. Close enough. If I'm at full speed, all I have to do is hit that button once, and it drops me to 0 forward momentum pretty quickly. It doesn't do it any quicker than if I just hold the S key and gradually, pull down my forward momentum. However, all I have to do is hit that key once, so it can be again, pretty helpful for just different maneuvers if you want to quickly kill your forward momentum and maybe land or, you know, do whatever. The other thing you should know when you use the throttle analog button is that for maybe like 10 or 15 seconds, 5 or 10 seconds, I don't know, I haven't timed it. After you use it, let me find here we go. So if I use it right here, slows your forward momentum down to 0, and if you try to land, it's not going to let you land. See, so it like kicks you right back off the ground, even if you try to push yourself into the ground for several seconds afterwards. Sometimes that can be annoying if you're trying to let people off. See, it's still doing it. I'm physically holding the, I guess, the C key right now, and it's still kicking me back up into the air. So that's one thing to know about it while you're using it. The other thing to know about when you're flying is that, you know, obviously my Liberator right now is not sinking to the ground, which means it has an inherent velocity or an inherent upward momentum to it. So if I roll to the left, you're going to see that I start going that way. If I roll to the right, you're going to see that I start going that way. That may seem like a minor thing in a thing that's inherent and that people might know, but you would be surprised how often someone crashes because they, you know, roll to the left to try to slip through somewhere, and their plane just kind of takes them into a tree or into a mountainside or something like that. One way to combat this is because that's upward momentum, you know, in that direction, just like it would be keeping you off the ground. Well, you have a key to combat that, and that's going to be your C key, which is inherently going to lower you towards the ground. So, while I'm flying, and I'm flying sideways, if I want to keep myself a bit more not going that direction, I hold the C key, and as you see, I already kind of straighten out. I'm going more straight, as opposed to when I'm just not holding the C key, and I have that inherent sort of upward momentum going on. The other thing that the C key does, or the downward momentum button does, is if you want to fly upside down, that can help you from hitting the ground not as soon. So let me turn around here. So I'm flying, and you know, I want to do a upside down maneuver. I'm going to start sinking to the ground a bit, but if I hold that C key, it's going to balance me out a bit sooner than I would otherwise if I was just going upside down. And also, if you're going to go upside down and you don't want to immediately hit the ground, tilt your nose up a bit, just so that your forward velocity kind of keeps you up in the air. As you can see, I'm just kind of sinking still. Hold my C key, I'm sinking a little bit less. Actually, I'm probably right at not sinking right now. And then if I let it go, yeah, I start sinking again. Not sinking when holding the key. But yeah, just tilt your nose up a little bit into the sky, and you will kind of alleviate some of that downward momentum to death into the ground that you'll have. Other thing about flying that everyone should probably keep in mind is, especially if you're a gunner or a gal pilot, keep in mind your map and your map awareness, because it's very important, and that you have buttons to change your minimap. So if I hit H, it's going to make my map really big, small, big, small, big. If I hold my bracket keys right next to the enter key, I can zoom out, I can zoom in. So zooming out is going to be obviously a lot better for fighting if you're trying to bounce around maybe some enemy armor, and you have an idea of where they are and you want to keep your gunners in range of it, or enemy air. And then obviously if you're in a gal, and you want to give people an accurate drop-off when you know you're getting close to the point. Zoom up on your point, so you can give them a, you know, the drop, 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 or whatever it is, versus when you're way zoomed out and it's a lot harder to tell those minute drops that you want to give your riders along in your gal. Well, I think that about covers it for the basic tips for general flying. I hope that has been helpful to someone or anyone. And yeah, I might make another video of this if people like it, about maybe some more advanced tips, but that's kind of it for now. Thanks.